Hiya. You find me opposite Robinsbridge Road and right opposite the Yorkshire Grey. Now this was the Yorkshire Grey pub. As you can tell, by the writing on the wall there, just under that light at the top here, just below the roof. Now a dentist, no longer a pub. There used to be, on this corner, a water pump, just about somewhere out there. And that water pump in the 1800s caused a lot of controversy during a time when there was a huge typhoid outbreak. Now London at the time was having a terrible time with typhoid, and Coggeshall didn't escape that outbreak. A lot of the people down this road at the time caught it, and they were looking for a common factor as to why they all got it, and I will tell you that in more detail in a voiceover. Suffice to say, they blamed the pump. But was that the real cause? You'll find out. Between the 1830s and the 1860s, typhoid claimed many lives across England and Wales, particularly among the poor. In London alone, there were 16,000 cases a year between 1838 and 1842. In November 1876, an outbreak of typhoid came to Coggeshall, and it ripped through the town, making 120 reported cases and 7 deaths. It wasn't long before the true source of the outbreak was discovered. It was on September the 27th, a girl who had visited Peckham Rye came to Coggeshall unwell with what proved to be typhoid fever. Her father, mother and brothers and sisters were inmates of the same cottage, in which, as usual, there were only 2 bedrooms. 3 of these inmates were attacked by the disease. Early in November, several other cases occurred, located from the most part in Tilkey Road and Robinsbridge Road, there having been but 1 case in West Street and 2 in Church Street. The water supply and sewage disposal in Coggeshall were medieval. Water was drawn from public or even private wells and delivered in buckets by the town water cart. The contents of many privies were either tipped into big holes dug in gardens, called bumby holes, or into cesspits, and it was not unusual for these to be close to the wells. Efforts were made to trace the source of the typhoid outbreak. The distribution of victims was concentrated around Robinsbridge Road, and it was thought that the most common factor in this case was the water pump. The water pump was over a traditional well which used to be used with a bucket and windlass, but in 1864 the locals raised enough money to cap the well and install a pump. During the 1876 outbreak of typhoid, the well was examined by experts, and they described it as unhygienic, even dangerous, as it was a surface water that filled the well up after heavy rain, and was so polluted as to be entirely unfit for any household use, and dangerous for drinking purposes. It was also noted that there were several cesspools nearby. The authorities gave notice that they would lock the pump for 6 months to see what the result would be. It was a magistrate's court that ordered the pump to be chained and padlocked. The means by which the typhoid was communicated was discovered. The common theme at all the houses whose inmates were attacked was the supplier of milk. At the bottom of Robinsbridge Road is an open brook which receives the surface and other drainage from the houses in the locality. This brook is occasionally dammed in the lower part of its course, and on inquiry it was found that the supplier of milk washed his milk cans in it. The practice was stopped, and the disease ceased its advance. Back in the 1800s, the medical advances weren't quite to the standard as they are today, and so the methods of disease control were quite lacking. But eventually, as you just heard, they did narrow it down to the exact source, and fixing that source stopped the disease. And it wasn't the pump, but it very well could be, or could have been, because somebody else could have caught the disease and continued fouling the water. So all in all, they did the right thing, much to people's argument. Well, I'm going to wind it up here. If you enjoyed the video, thank you for coming and watching, and could you do the usual, and I will see you in another video. Stay safe.